Hello, I'm Nellie and I'm 45 years old. I'm a successful businesswoman running a successful company with my best friend, Georgie. But my life hadn't been this way up until 3 years ago. My husband left me, so I got revenge and here I am. Wait, let me start from the beginning. I met Steve when we were in high school. We had crossed paths quite often, but that's not when we got in a relationship. About 10 years later, at our high school reunion, we got reintroduced to each other. I remember Steve being this nerdy and skinny-looking guy, so I was pleasantly surprised to see him looking taller and more buffed. We got to talking and Steve shamelessly flirted with me, and I liked it. I flirted back, and before we knew it, we had set up a date to meet up the next day. We met up at this gorgeous Italian restaurant. We ate pasta, drank wine, and enjoyed each other's company. We shared the same interests. During this date, I remember asking him what his big dream was. So tell me, what's your big dream?
That's something I have to think about.
Come on, you must have some sort of big dream that nags you every day.
Oh, then what's yours? Give me an example.
I want to own my own house. Now it's your turn.
Not a bad dream. Then I guess I want to run my own successful business. I'm tired of living paycheck to paycheck, you know?
Oh, I get that. Maybe if we last, I could help you with that.
I would like that. Not because you'd help me. I don't really care about that. I would like us to last.
I couldn't help but smile. I had a degree in business management, so theoretically I had all the knowledge. Steve worked a minimum paying job at some firm where he did data entry. I understood how exhausting living paycheck to paycheck were because I grew up living that way with my family. I liked him and I wanted to help him. That one date turned into many more. Before I knew it, we were practically living with each other, so I decided to just let him move into my place. My place was the bigger one. I think about 1.5 years after being together, I decided to help Steve start a business. The first few months were filled with us brainstorming ideas. I had quite a lot in savings, so I was willing to provide a portion of the funds. Steve had a couple of friends who were down to help him and invest in his business. I remember the night we registered his business. It was nerve-wracking because we knew how risky it was. But we knew that no matter what happened, we had each other. I held on to that hope and kept going. We began to pour long hours into starting the business. I would love to say that the business took off immediately, but we struggled. It was only the two of us working and we were yet to break even. But we gave it a couple more months and the company began to gain traction. We began to get many new clients and we were a pretty comfortable place to hire more people. When we had about 10 employees, Steve thought that we had made it. I remember laughing and telling him that I believed that he was capable of so much more than just this much. But Steve was elated, and to celebrate this huge achievement, Steve took me back to the Italian restaurant where we had our first date at. It was there that he proposed to me. Of course, I was beyond happy. I cried as I said yes. Let me tell you, juggling a baby company along with the wedding planning was not easy. I lost countless nights of sleep because of stress. At some point, Steve and I debated just eloping and not worrying about planning a huge event, but we also knew that this was a big event we had always wanted. We were in a great place financially, and we wanted to splurge. I wanted to celebrate my love for Steve in front of all our family. And 1 year after we got engaged, we did just that. Our wedding was a big celebration of our love. We danced and laughed the night away. I was happy to be able to spend the rest of my life with Steve. After the wedding, we focused fully on the business again. We worked our butts off to get it fully off the ground, and our hard work was rewarded. We slowly began to climb and gain recognition. Pretty soon we were doing more than breaking even. We were profiting like crazy, like making millions crazy. The first thing we did when we had a lot of money was buy our own house. We were slowly able to let go of the reins a little because we had enough people working under us. Then, one day, Steve approached me to tell me something.
We need to talk about something.
Is everything okay?
Yeah, it's just, I think I want you to stay home.
Why? Am I doing something wrong?
No, it's just that I think you deserve to rest at home.
But I love working with you.
I do too, but I don't work much anymore, you know? And you still do. I don't like that.
So, you want me to quit working with you because you feel emasculated?
No, I just wanted you to stop working and relax a little. You deserve it.
I don't know.
Please, for me?
Fine, I guess. I was pretty upset that Steve wanted me to stop working with him, but I didn't want to argue with him. I knew that he was right. I couldn't remember the last time I took a day off. I had been working for so long that I didn't even know what relaxing felt like. I took Steve up on his offer and took my new free time seriously. I spent my days reading all the books that I had missed out on reading in the past 3 years. I caught up on all the shows I hadn't watched, and I took time to treat myself to spas and manis and pedis. I felt good. I felt relaxed. But along with the relaxation came this nagging feeling that something was wrong with Steve. He began withdrawing from me. He stopped spending time with me and spent a lot of time working. At least that's what I thought, until one day he came back home after an office party, reeking of alcohol and some woman's perfume.
Why do you smell so strongly like a woman?
Is there something you need to tell me?
What? No, nothing like that.
Is that a lipstick stain on your neck?
Oh, this thing. Some girl was dared by her friends to do it.
And you just let it happen?
I was not going to deny a woman a free drink.
You're unbelievable. You're sure nothing else happened?
Are you accusing me of cheating? How dare you?
No, that's not what
Just leave me. I'm going to go to sleep.
I just wanted to be reassured, but Steve's defensiveness only made me more suspicious. My heart hurt at the thought that Steve was cheating on me. I hoped and prayed to every god that this wasn't the truth. As the days passed, I couldn't shake the nagging feeling. Steve would still come home smelling like a woman on some days. Eventually, curiosity got the better of me. I hired a PI. I know that it was a gross violation of trust, but I needed to know. If Steve himself refused to tell me, then I would find out myself through my own ways. The PI followed Steve around for a month. In case there actually was bad news, I wanted to find out about it after the month. I didn't think I'd be able to handle listening to bad news over and over again, so I told the PI to inform me of everything at the end of the month. That month was the longest month ever. Every day it felt like the hours took much longer to pass, but eventually we reached the end of the month. The PI asked to meet me at a crowded cafe. I got there earlier and anxiously waited for him to arrive. When he did arrive, he carried a large folder. In the folder were pictures of Steve kissing and going on dates, and even going into hotels with various women. My stomach dropped and I felt like I was about to throw up. The PI looked at me with sympathy. But it got worse. I looked at these pictures closely and realized that I knew these women. They were our employees. What in the world did Steve even think he was doing? Did he not realize how badly he was jeopardizing his company by doing this? But most of all, I was beyond hurt that Steve was cheating on me. Is that why he asked me to stop working? So he could sneak around behind my back? I cannot even begin to tell you how grossed out I was by what I had learnt. It was a gross misuse of power dynamics in the workplace to begin with, but then, to go behind my back after all the sacrifices he had made for me, that was cruel. I don't exactly remember how I spent the next few weeks after finding out about Steve's affairs, but I do know that there was a lot of crying, sleeping, ice cream, and binge-watching involved. I don't even know how the idea came to me, but I knew that after weeks of wallowing and feeling sorry for myself, I couldn't keep doing this anymore. I thought that maybe confronting him would help. Maybe if he would realize that he would lose me, he'd stop and try to change. Wow, I was such a fool. I need you to sit down and listen to me.
Make this quick, I have somewhere to be.
Yes, probably at one of your young employees' houses.
What?
Yeah, I know about your affairs. Which, by the way, is gross. Just because you make a lot of money now doesn't mean you get to abuse that power and take advantage of your employees, or even forget how you got to this position in the first place.
Look, I wasn't even trying to keep this a secret anyway. I'm just surprised it took you so long to figure it out.
You mean you didn't care about me at all?
Don't take this the wrong way, but after getting my position, I realized my worth. I realized I deserve so much better than you.
Excuse me?
Well, you're not ugly, but you're also not exactly attractive to me. Anyways, what do you want to do about this situation?
You are unbelievable. Does our relationship mean anything to you?
It was fun while it lasted. I'm going to guess you want a divorce? Don't worry, the papers will be here by the day after, at the latest. As a token of gratitude, you can have the house. I have to go. Bye.
I was burning with anger. I wanted to hurt him. I didn't care how. I needed to get back at him. All my sadness and hurt turned to this insane amount of anger that actually made my skin feel like it was on fire. In the days that I waited for the divorce papers to come, I started plotting my plan of revenge. My first idea was to get back at his business. His business was the thing that changed him and made him this entitled man. So I would tear it down and then through it, tear him down. I would love to watch him crash and burn. Since I already had experience starting a business thanks to the late nights I spent with Steve, starting a second time would be a piece of cake. This time, instead of being two inexperienced people starting a business, I invited my best friend, Georgie, who had opened many successful businesses herself, to help me out with my new venture. I decided to let Georgie be the CEO of the company because I needed my name to not be as visible, so I could silently take down Steve's company. By the time Steve and I had settled our divorce, I was the owner of our house. I decided to sell it and use the money I got as an investment in my new firm. Of course, it was beyond risky and I lost a lot of sleep in the first few months, but our sharp business minds allowed Georgie and me to make so many smart decisions that pretty quickly our company began to grow and make huge profits. Now, another thing to note was that Steve's company began to take a sort of a nosedive. Steve took too much advantage of the fact that he was fully free and partied too hard. He began to neglect his job a little, which is probably why he never saw us as a true rival. I knew that if I had been there, a company like mine would have had me panicking. But Steve was too busy partying and sleeping with just about any woman who was young and gave him some attention. Georgie and I steadily expanded our firm. We began to hire a lot of people and expanded our markets. We also heavily monitored the stocks of Steve's company. Georgie and I had come up with our next course of action after we had one too many glasses of wine. You know, I am grateful for you. Oh, honey, I hardly did much. Most of this is all your hard work. Plus, I would never turn down the opportunity to get back to Steve. You never really liked him, did you? I'm just saying, he manipulated you into funding his firm and working there for free, and it was so risky. And then he completely ditched you? Are you sure this is all the revenge you want to get on him?
What do you mean? We're beating his firm in the markets and will soon be the #1 firm. What more can we do?
Look, this is the kind of revenge a friend would get on their other crappy friend, not the kind a betrayed wife would get on her ex-husband. How about we buy out his company?
Buy him out? How are we possibly going to do that? I don't think we have that kind of money. And I don't think Steve would be willing to give up his cash cow.
We definitely don't have the kind of money to buy it, and I think the same thing about Steve, but you know what we do have money for? Stocks.
We buy the company stocks. How much? Oh my God. We buy a majority of the stocks and then we get to make executive decisions, and holy cow, you're a genius.
I definitely am. You are welcome. It took a couple of months of monitoring Steve's company stocks, and we began to see a huge dip in the prices. We decided to swoop in and buy about 25% of the stocks. This gave us an exclusive veto and a place at the table to make executive decisions as planned, and now we began slowly destroying the company. With every month that went by, Steve's neglect of his company only worsened the company's profits. As a result, they had to ask us for funds to keep the company afloat. Did we have the funds? Of course. Did we give it to them? Of course not. We also did not allow them to raise funds via their other investors and stockholders. Their company began to crash. Georgie and I watched gleefully as they struggled to stay afloat. Of course, they ended up getting really desperate, so Georgie asked to have a meeting with the board of directors of Steve's company. Steve never showed up, of course, but in an effort to not let the company totally fall through, they decided it was best to sell the company. Since they had the majority vote, Steve wasn't really needed. We bought their company for practically nothing, and wow, the rush of happiness and satisfaction at what we had accomplished. While the paperwork was still being processed, which was about 2 days after we bought Steve's company, Steve showed up at my house. I don't know how he found my address, because a year after my business took off, I bought myself a house and nobody but a few family members and Georgie knew the address. I figured Steve reached out to one of my family members and they snitched on me.
Steve, what are you doing here? I don't know how to tell you this. It's embarrassing, actually. Spit it out, Steve. I don't have time for this. Well, I've been thinking a lot recently.
That's really good. Wow, I'm so proud of you.
Please let me speak. I've been thinking and I realised that I really missed having you in my life. If you don't mind, would you come back to me?
How come the sudden missing? Is it because your company is dying?
How do you know about the company? The situation hasn't been released anywhere as yet.
Well, to answer your first question, I'm not interested in coming back to you. To answer your second question, you're going to miss more than me. You're going to miss your company.
Huh?
I just bought it.
What?
Oh, Steve, you really should have paid more attention to your firm instead of partying and sleeping around.
Why would you do that? You knew it was my biggest dream to own a successful company. You're unbelievable.
Well, I tried to tell you that it was unfair that you were leaving me after I helped you start your business, but you didn't care. And neither do I right now. I wish you all the best. Goodbye. I shut the door in Steve's face with a smirk on my face. I felt great. It was exhilarating to watch Steve fall from his high horse. In the days that followed, my company had officially bought Steve's, and the media was made aware of everything. Steve tried contacting me multiple times, but I just blocked him. Eventually, all the employees he slept with came out and spoke up about their experiences with Steve. The public was outraged. They sued him for gross misconduct, and Steve lost a lot of money in settlements. Steve struggled to get back up on his feet. He went as far as to email me to help him out financially because I was the one that got him into this position. I wrote him a pretty strongly worded email, letting him know that he was the only one responsible for where he was at. I told him that I refused to help him, and that if he continued to try to contact me, I would report him for harassment. It's been a few months since all of this has transpired. I thought it would have hurt to see Steve struggle, but It actually felt freeing.
I don't know what's happening with him anymore, but I do know that I'm thriving. My business is doing great, and Georgie and I are working towards taking the company even higher.
For the longest time, I let Steve's words and thoughts of me affect me. But it took a huge push for me to see otherwise. Never doubt yourself, and never be too afraid to take a risk. You never know how life will reward you.